Well, folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. I'm so excited to be here, just like I am every week, because I've got the best freaking job in the world. I get to hang out with my poker friends and talk about poker every Monday night, live on the air here on YouTube at 7:30 Eastern. Folks can show up for free every week here on the Rec Poker Podcast. And if you show up and you get involved in the chat, you can even win a prize just for showing up. I see we've already got some people getting active in the chat. My friendly poker nemesis, Phil, is here and wants to be given credit for being here on time. And Hawk Plays, he knows it's dance party time when the podcast starts because we got that awesome groove and tune from Peter Trulin that we just can't help but move around and shake our booty a little bit too when it comes on. So yes, aptly put. Hawk Plays. That's right. Dance party time every Monday night here on the Rec Poker Podcast. That's enough about that, though. We've got an exciting guest tonight, Garry Gates, November Niner. And he's also got a bunch of other exciting things about him, but you're going to have to wait for the podcast interview to hear about that. We've got some exciting news coming up. There's a meetup game. There's a meetup breakfast. There's a heads up series. We're still running our 100K studios, a leaderboard event. So there's just like a lot going on. Why don't we start the podcast officially like we normally do? I see I'm getting the look from the people in the panel here like, hey, Jim, kind of get on with a little. So why don't I? Well, my name is Jim Reid. Like I said, I've got the best job in the world. I'm Bluff Sterini in the Rec Poker home games and at Rec Poker Jim on Twitter. But I am just one of the folks here involved in what we do here at Rec Poker. I'm on the RECing Crew, just like all these other wreckers. And if you want to learn more about me and the rest of the RECing Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, but you can just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them here on the air tonight.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter, 5x5 in the Poker Stars home game. And I don't know who let Phil into the chat or who reminded him. I thought we had agreed we weren't going to do that anymore.
We need to capture his tears, you might remember, from an earlier
enough.
episode. So this is part of how we do that. And who else have we got joining us tonight? Yeah.
And I'm Joe Coolis. You can find me at Joe Cool PhD, cool with a K, or LB11 in the home game.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50, just about everywhere.
So we are going to be having our interview with Garry Gates. I'm excited for that. Unfortunately, Gary's feeling a little under the weather this week. And as does happen from time to time, he wasn't able to make the recording session tonight. So if you're here in the YouTube chat, don't worry. You're still going to get a chance to win a prize in our food bank drive, a raffle that we do at the end of every show. And if you have any questions for Garry, please just type them into the YouTube chat right now, and I'll make sure to jot them down and ask the man himself when I speak to him a little later this week. And I'll give you full credit for your excellent ideas. I just must tell you that we're not going to steal credit for that. If you come up with a good question, you're going to get full credit for it with Garry Gates when we get to talk about him. But I do want to mention a couple things that are really exciting. So on June 28th, the MGM Grand is hosting the Rec Poker meetup game. This is our very first Las Vegas meetup game. It's going to start at 6 o'clock. It's the day there is a good tournament that day that starts earlier in the morning. Their late reg closes at 5, and I think their re-entry closes at 5. So if you're in Vegas for that part of June, and if you get unlucky early in that tournament that you're playing, please come on by and join us. It's going to be a fantastic time. We're playing 2 to 3 tables of 1-3. Buy-in's $100 a minimum, but the buy-in's uncapped at the MGM, they tell me. So you can sit in for as little as 100, or you can stack up some chips and cause some real trouble. That's going to be a super fun time. More details about that coming out, but I think we're going to have some really fun friends joining the show as well. Joining the meetup game as well. So that'll be a fun time to get involved. Yeah, Chris?
Do people have to fight to be at your table so they can try to
That's where the easy money is.
I know,
I would just say first come, first served is really the best way to approach that. Get on the list. I want to play at Jim's table. Come and scoop up some of those set ones from earlier. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And if you do want to get on the list, just send me an email, jim@rec.poker. And I'm going to be handling the list there for the MGM gang. And that's going to be super fun on the 28th. If you're not in town for the 28th, we're going to do a meetup breakfast at the Lux Cafe, which is at the Venetian there. That one's going to be a lot of fun. That's the week earlier on June 22nd. It's the morning of the tag team, day one. So if you're in Vegas for the tag team, feel free to come down and join me and whoever else feels like it for breakfast. Again, you can go to rec.poker/events and you'll see the entire calendar of events for the month of June, and you'll see some of the stuff on there.
And these are poker players you're talking to, so that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What time is breakfast, Jim?
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, the tournaments all start at 10. And so I wanted to give people a chance to kind of have a bit of a leisurely breakfast. I'm going to be there from 8 till 10. And if folks want to swing by for any portion of that, they're welcome to. I'm just going to be sipping on coffee and, tweeting and that kind of thing, waiting for the tournament to start. The nice thing about the tag team is, even if I'm playing in it, then I can stick around and get comfortable and relax with people at the breakfast table, and my partner can get started and I can come and swing in for after an orbit or something like that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't expect a lot of people to be there at 8, but I just I'll get there at 8. I'll get the coffee flowing, and people are welcome to join anytime. I'll be booting out of there around 10 though, because I want to play in that tag team event. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So the meetup breakfast on the 22nd, the meetup game on the 28th. I also have to mention, before we get into the interview, this Saturday is the Heads Up series, which is a fantastic way to win your way into Marek Madness. Maybe we'll have a few more details about that after the home game announcements. And I also want to point out that every Tuesday night, you can still win points on our leaderboard. Every Tuesday night in the RecPoker home game, 100K Studios is putting together a prize at the end of each month. So at the end of June and at the end of July, the Tuesday night players with the most points in the leaderboard for making it to the final table are going to be entered into a qualifying tournament where you could win a $1,000 entry into a Run Good event package later this summer. So that's pretty exciting. So I think, folks, this is going to be one of those ones where Renz Isidro and Roger Schutte are going to help us out behind the scenes as we throw to an interview that hasn't happened yet. And then we'll be right back here to talk about some exciting home game results and everything else that's going on in RecPoker land. So in just a moment, the one and only Garry Gates. Well, thanks, everyone. I'm excited to be finally hosting this interview with Garry Gates that we're all so excited about. A lot of you probably already have heard of Garry. He was a 4th place finisher in the World Series of Poker main event in 2019. He's been involved in the poker world, the poker industry, in a few different roles. Now he's working with poker.org, and I can't wait to kind of learn a little more about your role with poker.org and sort of like what you've been getting up to for the last little while. But first of all, Garry, just thanks for coming on the RecPoker podcast. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, Jim, I love your work. Love what you guys do over there, and excited to be here.
Nice. Well, you love our play then, because not a minute of it feels like work so far. We're just having a great time sharing our love of poker with everybody that we can possibly encounter. I know you've got a very similar attitude when it comes to that, the times that we've connected over Zoom and on email. So let's start with, let's just take everyone back. So 2019, a fantastic 4th place finish at the final table of the World Series Poker main event. Is that a life-changing experience? Is there a before that and after that? Does it feel like it was that pivotal a day?
Yeah, no question. I think I got into this industry as a player, picked up the game in college online, I think in 2001, and so to I think all of us have that dream that one day that could be us in one of those 9 chairs. And so to have actually lived the experience, yeah, no question, it was life-changing. A bit surreal for me because the year I won was like right before the pandemic also. So there was it was life-changing in a few different ways. I guess if you're going to enter into a global pandemic, it's helpful to win, a bunch of money before that happens. So that was nice. And help give myself and the family a little better sense of security. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. I've definitely had a lot of life changes in between the main event run. I've gotten married, bought a house, went through a 2.5-year stint over at DraftKings and dabbled in the sports betting industry for a little while. And, eventually came back to my poker roots and started doing some consulting for the guys at poker.org. So it's been a lot of fun and I'm still enjoying the ride.
Yeah, well, that's the key, isn't it? I mean, if you're not having fun, then Lord, you better be making a ton of money. It's always my attitude, because life's too short. Life's too short otherwise. So what was the pitch from Poker.org to get you more involved? How did they end up being the place that you decided to start doing some consulting work with?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I left DraftKings, I wanted to spend my time doing things that I just enjoy doing a lot more, and poker's at the heart of that. And Eric Holreiser, who owns the website, I've worked with him for 10 years over at Poker Stars. Very talented guy and well respected in the industry. He had recruited two of my favorite people in the entire poker industry in Brad Willis and Sarah Herring, who I know Jim. And initially I just started doing some part-time consulting for them, and Eric's vision is a big one. He wants to become a powerhouse media company in the poker world, and so they've got a lot of opportunity, a lot of exciting projects that I could get involved in, and so over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, I've given them increasing bandwidth. But I think initially just the vision and the people that he's brought into the fray, I think are the two things that really allured me to want to get associated with and do some work with them.
Yeah, we've met a couple times, and I know we've been RecPoker and Poker.org have been talking about a few collaborations and that kind of thing. I really think you guys have a great attitude about what it is about poker that we're trying to bring to the fore, and the stories and elements of the poker industry and the poker world. So it's great to see that. Let's talk a little bit about this firsthand hands program that's starting off down there. So this seems like exactly what the poker world needs. So if folks don't know, well, you know what, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, Garry. Tell us exactly how the program works and how people can get more involved.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So this idea actually stemmed from feedback we received from our own player advisory board, of which you are graciously a member, and so we've had a few sessions with folks like Matt Berkey, Johnny Vives, Joey Ingram, those types of folks, and when we started working on our coverage plans for the 2023 World Series, we were looking for ways that we could become, that would make us differentiators in the space, improve, some of the things that we see every year from live reporting. And interestingly, back in 2007, I actually was the Poker News live reporting manager. So it's weird that things are coming full circle that way. But I helped sort of create the original model where you've got live reporters in the field and walking through a sea of tables and hoping to stumble upon an interesting hand. And then you think about that process, right? Everybody that's played a poker tournament or a major tournament has probably seen a live reporter in action, but they've got their pen and paper out there, and you've got your notables written down. You're looking for a big hand to pop up. You're hoping you get there in time to record the entire action pre-flop, getting the betting amounts right. Chip counts before and after the hand. There's a lot of details that and pressure for one person to get spot on in one fell swoop. So when you think about that model and how you can improve it, some of our players suggested, well, why don't you guys get interesting hands from players themselves? And initially we've always kind of preached in poker media, like, just be the fly on the wall. Don't you don't want to be intrusive to the action. But if you think about this in 2023, so many players are already recording their own hands for notes. There's a lot of coaching platforms out there that discuss these kind of hands. So we decided to take the idea and run with it. And we've built a roster of great names across the board, across the poker spectrum, really, from some of the best pros in the world: Chance Cornuth, Alex Foxen, Chris Moorman, Then on down to guys like me, who I'm just still a recreational player. Clayton Fletcher's a great name to throw out there. He's a professional comedian, and these hands, they're being told from the player's perspective. It's not a reporter watching the hand and telling you what happened. If it's a high-level pro, we're encouraging that they give us some insight. They tell us their thought process, any color commentary. In Clayton Fletcher's case, the guy's been hysterical. Some of these hands, he's giving details about hands that we all live through and think about and see, but he's giving his own flair to it. And so there's an entertainment factor there, but it's definitely a work in progress. We've got some great early returns, and I hope that throughout the course of the World Series that interest grows, and more people want to get in the mix and send us some of their hands. But yeah, it's so far so good.
Yeah, well, it's a great idea. And I can see sort of like some of the logistical hurdles of putting it together. I'm sure you guys have a super smooth operation going over there that takes all that out of the equation. I'm glad I don't have to figure out the way to do it, because that on-demand stuff, I always feel like that's like doing the podcast live. It's like something's going to go wrong.
Exactly.
So what kind of different formats are people submitting hands in, and like what's the behind the scenes look like for that kind of operation?
Yeah, so we have a two-man team of content curators, and really they're kind of on standby, and we've got private WhatsApp groups set up for each of the pros that are working with us, and honestly, if anyone else, especially in the rec poker world, wants to get in the mix, it goes beyond hands too. Just any kind of raw content, interesting pictures and stories, and that's the beauty of poker and tournaments. You just never know who you're going to be sat next to, and just a simple conversation can lead to one of the coolest stories that maybe none of us had heard to this point. So we're getting hands that can be like crazy high level poker, really getting into the mix. Matt Hunt from Solve for Wise has delivered a few of those. And then, like I said, there's guys that are more interested in the color commentary side. Maybe a bizarre circumstance happened at the table, or there was a floor ruling that that stood out. Two people got in an argument. Really anything that we as poker content consumers find interesting, we're willing to take in any kind of hand like that.
So Joe Coolis, I think what I'm hearing is that you should get yourself down to Vegas while I'm there. We'll stage some sort of fight right in the middle of the horseshoe, and like roll over some tables, knock some chips everywhere, get some coverage for Rec Poker. What do you think?
Sure. Stage, right? Yeah, that's exactly what.
You two might be the only two guys that could never successfully pull off a staged fight. They're just too nice. No,
yeah, maybe.
No one's buying it.
Maybe. I think you might have us there, Gary. Good call. Oh yeah, Joe, please jump in.
So actually, to be honest, I hadn't heard of the First Hands program, I guess, until just very now. So I'm actually kind of intrigued by it, because I think, with the exception of the introverts who are looking to just clack away on the screen online, the purpose of going to play live poker in a lot of ways is to experience what you see at the table, right? Honestly, poker is kind of a boring game sometimes when you just look at hands and lines and things like that, because you can kind of break it down and, well, this is expected, and this is expected, and oh my gosh, he didn't call there. It's not as if there's fireworks, but the interplays and even I was just looking Clayton Fletcher's description of the guy as the sweatshirt fighter, brings into the game the thing that most people take home, right? They talk about the people, they talk about the hands, they talk about losing the bad beats, but a part of that is the discussion of the people that are involved in that. And I do think that sometimes that's missing in poker because of the overly focus on hands. So I do think that's an interesting approach.
Yeah, we're really trying to lean into that, Joe. Giving players a platform to submit hands from their perspective, it just pulls the veil back a little bit, and everybody approaches the game so differently. There's the participation too, I think, is wide ranging. Like some players obviously just want to keep to themselves and have enough on their plate, just focusing on the play at the table. But for the ones that are, we work with a lot of coaching platforms, for example, Jaka Coaching, Chip Leader Coaching, Jonathan Little, Solve for Why. So we have folks from all four of those companies, and they're obviously incentivized to send us some hands because, for their coaches, right, it's a preview of some of the insights and the type of work that are available for potential customers. You have folks that are content creators that are looking to amplify their own brands, and other people just happy to be in the mix. You guys probably remember the first time you ever listed in the Poker News chip counts, or your name was mentioned in a hand in live reporting. It's a way to help continue to grow the game. And when that happened for me, I remember the first time just screenshotting it, sending it to my friends and family at home, and then they want to there's actual reporting on poker, and then they go down the rabbit hole, and you may end up converting new players. But yeah, I think it's been really cool to see this idea evolve, and I think the sky's the limit. We've another great example is Ronnie Barta. I don't know if you guys know Ronnie's personality at all, but been a friend of mine for a long time. The guy just has all kinds of charisma and personality, and he's funny as all get out. And for years, I'm in a group chat with him where he'll be playing a tournament, and he'll send us a voice memo of his account of a hand that just went down. And normally he's got this like Boston accent, and he just talks a lot of shit, and it's just hilarious. And we decided to try to convert this to a type of audio file, firsthand hand. And so there's all kinds of applications, and the written ones with Clayton they've been some of my favorites, because like you said, Joe, they highlight some of the characters and the things we all experience at the table. And there's something in there for everybody, really. For the hardcore poker guys, they can see how Alex Foxen is playing a hand, Chance Cornin is playing a hand from their perspective in these 100Ks. And so I'm excited to see where this thing goes. I think it could have legs.
I do think also it could help to alleviate some of the hyper focus on the Jim Reid, Joe Coolest fight scenes. I mean, but really the scenes of, that everybody's mad at one another and you got to be a complete jerk at the table, or have these pseudo controversies that, create a lot of clicks, but I don't think really bring in players who want to see the interesting aspects. Like, I always think back to the current high stakes poker. It's like that wasn't built on the great poker that was at the table beyond the large amounts of money that they were throwing out, right? You didn't see a lot of the hands that went into it. You just saw a curated version of it. But you got to see the players to some degree interact with one another in probably less staged than I think it is currently in a lot of the cases. And I think something like this could help that, and make people draw a connection and say, well, identify with something that they're seeing. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if I explained that very well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that touches on something we're trying to do, from a broader perspective with Poker.org, and that is, becoming a platform where you can find all the players' perspective. You're seeing coverage of poker through the lens of poker players themselves, instead of somebody else's account. And so, on our platform, you're going to find raw videos, self-shot videos of somebody busting an event. And we aggregate a lot of content from social media, Twitter, Instagram. We've talked about the audio files. We've got this inside the rail piece that's baked into our instant feed. And to your exact point, it's just showcasing, the experience as players are living it themselves and through their own eyes. So it's taken a different approach to the traditional, coverage of poker, but I think it's been well received so far, and I think the sky's the limit for it.
Yeah, and I just love this idea of like democratizing the reporting of it, or however you want to refer to that, sort of deputizing the players to put their own hands in. And you're absolutely right, man. Like I'll just tell you right now, the very first time I got listed in a Poker News update, I bookmarked that page, and it is still bookmarked on my phone. And like, if I'm having a little low moment every once in a while, I just think, I'm like, oh yeah, I can just scroll over there and see like Reid doubles early or something like that. It's just like, hot damn, dude. Yeah, like that's it's no fourth place at the world event, but like, it does feel like it's like, oh, now it's happened. This has happened, which is very, very cool for recreational players like us. I think just that kind of ability to connect with the professional realm of poker is very exciting and fun.
Yeah, and that's just it. If anyone listening from the rec poker community is interested in this, I mean, we obviously can't, with limited bandwidth, publish every single piece of content that comes in. But that said, this whole model allows us, instead of having, in I guess the traditional live reporting model where you might have 30 field reporters, walking the sea of tables. Instead, you've got an army of poker players that are watching every single hand. And you might not even be in the hand yourself, but you're seated next to Eric Seidel and Scotty Wynn, and you watch a hand that went down that otherwise would never be seen. And so that's valuable for us. The model that we've set up allows players to kind of have the final say in a quality control check before we publish the hand, in an effort to eliminate any inaccuracies. We encourage quality over quantity in that, only send us a hand that you might find interesting at home. And so that way, every hand that appears in our coverage is readable. I borrow this term from Elon Musk, unregretted user minutes. I want people that come to Poker.org in the instant feed to, if they give us 2 minutes of their attention, right? I want them to leave feeling like that was 2 minutes well spent, and they would come back and get more of that. So you won't find, Jim Reid, takes one down on the turn versus unknown opponent. I think those days are long gone. And I hope that this model allows us to have engaging, interesting hands. It creates engagement opportunities for the people that are submitting them, and we curate them in a nice shareable format. So if any of the rec poker folks send us a hand, for example, we'll ship it back to them, and they can start a conversation. Here, I saw this go down at my table, or I just played this hand against Phil Hellmuth. Here's my account of it. So it just creates engagement opportunities that way, and I think there's a lot of benefits that we're realizing as we work through the process.
Now, I know Joe's got a question, but I want to just take a quick takeoff from there, Gary. So if rec poker folks or listeners to the podcast did want to get more involved, how would you prefer that? Should they send me an email and I kind of send you a list of folks that might be down there? Should they reach out to you directly, or a contact form on the poker.org website? What's the best way for them to start that process?
Hey, if you're happy to field the emails, that's easy enough for me. Anybody can hit me up on Twitter as well. That's super easy. My direct messages are open, so I'm happy to chat with anyone. It's just at Garry Gates, 2 R's and Gary. But yeah, we're down to chat with anyone that's interested in supporting this, and I think it's only going to lead to great content across the board.
Nice. So yeah, so folks, if you're enjoying this concept and you'd like to get involved, hit Gary up on Twitter at Garry Gates with 2 R's. And if you want to just test out the waters, you can always send an email to me and the team here at info@rec.poker, and we'll send you along. Joe, you had something there, I think.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk more about this program? Because I was going to move to a different.
No, I think I think we're pretty much there. Gary, are there any other exciting details that we should share with the group before we move on?
Only that your Vegas arrival is what, T-minus 1 or 2 days. So yeah, hopefully we can get some Jim Reid firsthand hands in the mix real soon.
Count on it, brother. I'm so excited. I'm already packed. I'm like, I might not sleep between now and then. I can't wait.
Awesome.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the 2019. So you took 4th there, if I'm not mistaken. And granted, $3 million is not a bad prize to kind of wander out. But there's this term which rec poker players may be familiar with or not, but it's congratulations, right? You made it really high, but you didn't quite get there to that top rung. And if you feel comfortable, I mean, I'm just interested. how that journey has been over, continuing to play, being involved, and knowing, well, I did well, but I didn't quite get all the way over the top, and how you experience that.
I really appreciate that question. It's funny, the moment I busted, Kara Scott pulled me over for the ESPN interview, and the first words out of her mouth were, Garry, where do you think this went wrong for you?
Oh, no.
And I had to kind of lean in and make sure I heard the question right, because there was a lot of crowd noise and celebration and whatnot. But I just off the cuff said, I don't think it went wrong at all. I just made the final table of the main event of the World Series, and I just won $3 million. Before this week, I was a guy who was playing 1-2 no limit hold'em at Green Valley Ranch, and like with the mountain of debt, so it didn't go wrong at all. But I will say I'd be lying if I didn't think back occasionally. I don't have any kind of regrets about how I played, or it's just, it is what it is, and I'm happy with it exactly as it all played out. But when I see Hossein Enson's banner sometimes, or when I think about how many chips I had at the final table compared to the other stacks, and when we were down to 5-handed, sometimes you get into the what if game and think about that a little bit. But no, I can't. From this moment on, I've actually just shifted my energy to, well, let's do it again, right? Like, why couldn't I? Mark Newhouse went back-to-back ninth. Dan Harrington did it. I feel like Alex Livingston's had deep runs, and I've had some success in the main. I think my record is unusually good. I think I've cashed like 5 out of 9 times in this tournament with 3 sub 250 finishes. So it's hard to do, and it's a grind. You got to get lucky, but I think that's where my focus is now. Is like, let's rewrite the book and do it again.
No, well, as somebody who hasn't played yet and has no success in it, I mean, you're certainly doing better than I am. But as Jim will tell you, my poker game sucks. So it's just not everybody.
Hey, I was checking the pin sheet recently, and I realized that you were due a couple pins, Joe. So you're going to have to. Oh, you've had a couple of wins here in what is really considered the pinnacle of the poker world, the free play money home game club here at Rec Poker. So just
I don't have any pins, Jim. So
yeah, that's right.
Tell you what, I'll trade you one of my pins. I think it's more than fair, right?
I'll think about it, and I'll email Jim.
Yeah, email. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, Joe, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. So along those same lines, I mean, has coming close, but not quite getting to the top of the mountain changed your perspective on how important it is to do that in your career, or in terms of the kinds of games that you play, in terms of, well, like where you see yourself beyond bankroll management, in terms of, well, which games I should be playing and what I'm qualified to do?
I don't know that it's changed my perspective on that end to an extent. I mean, that I've never, I think some people, when they have a big score, they're naturally inclined to like jump in the next biggest buy-in, or play games that they wouldn't normally play. And I haven't done that at all, really. I'm very realistic about my poker skill. I'm still very much an amateur. I don't study solvers. I don't, have a coach. Even every day, I mean, I've been playing at the series every day, and there's people at the table that are substantially better than me at every single table I'm at. So I don't have, I have a realistic approach to the game and the fields I enter and that kind of thing. And I'll always be passionate about the game, and I probably will start at some point to study a bit more and try to evolve my own skill set a bit. I probably should have done that a long time ago, but just having both legs on the corporate side of the industry for as long as I have, the bandwidth isn't large enough to really devote the kind of time you need to become that good. So we'll see. But yeah, fortunately I've made a lot of degenerate decisions in my life, but fortunately that's not been one of them. And I've taken a smart approach to game selection and what I'm doing.
Very good.
That's actually one of the other questions I had for you, Gary. So leaving poker out of it, or maybe it isn't poker. I wanted to set you up. I'd like to know one thing when you look back on your life that you would do differently. It doesn't have to be like a major regret or like anything or an unknown, but just something real that looking back on the life of Garry Gates, you think, I wish I'd done that differently.
Man, you might actually evoke a couple of tears from me right now. That's a great question. And short story, my father has he's my hero without question. He's lived a pretty rough life in terms of he's just always selfless. He, when I was younger, worked 80 hours a week to keep our family of 6 afloat. My mom became disabled when I was pretty young, and he just worked tirelessly and always put other people first. He came out as a gay man when I was 29, which was kind of a shocker to me and the family. Then he had a fall where he was on the roof of a building he was considering buying and turning it into a pharmacy with a business partner, and he fell through the roof and broke almost every bone from his neck to his waist, and was on life support for 11 days. Made it through, but after the World Series main event, he was going through another difficult time, and so we moved him out to Las Vegas, and he ended up moving in with us. And then the pandemic hit like 3 months after that. We weren't intending to host him for a long period of time, but it ended up turning into 3.5 years. The entirety of my marriage, most of my relationship with my now wife, and he just left yesterday morning, Monday morning, and I had no idea how hard that would hit me. Just the time that I got to spend with him in these last 4 years meant an awful lot. So to your question, the one thing I would have probably done differently is just spend more time with the people I love. I came out to Vegas and by myself in 2004, packed everything I owned into my car and just took a shot at this gambling life, and it worked out nicely. But the one downside is I was just here by myself and I didn't have family. It made a great circle of friends who've become my family over the years. But yeah, that's the one thing for sure, is I'd spend more time with the people that I care about. Look what you've done to me, Jim. Look what you've done.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Gary. I really appreciate you. Obviously, you're being open and authentic with us about that. And I'm just like, what a great thing to regret. I think that I hope that people that are listening can hear how seriously you mean it. And it's never too late for all of us to spend more time with the people that we love. I know a lot of the people at RecPoker, a lot of people on this panel, a lot of our listeners have experienced some loss over the last few years in particular. And it's always sad. It's always sad. All we can do is just tell the people that we love them and create some memories, because those are all that we get to carry with you. I'm glad that you were able to get that condensed time with them, and thank you for sharing that story, Gary. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's the positive side of it, right? Like he's simply driving back to Pennsylvania, so it's not like he's gone or I'm not going to have these chances. But it is a reminder that tomorrow's never promised, and it's so important to get your time in. That's our most valuable and limited commodity, and so that's my plan, is just to travel a lot more, to get out east and see the family a bit more. And but yeah, I think if you can live in the moment and do those things, and then you're doing it right. And yeah,
right on. Let's wrap this up with a nice idea. Gary, we're professional football team rivals. I know you're a Miami Dolphins fan, and yet we get along, like it hasn't gotten in the way of us having a good time. Who wins the AFC this year, and why is it the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh man, the AFC is just it's a great time to be a football fan, right? There's just so many good quarterbacks in the mix. It's nice as a Dolphins fan who has lived a pretty miserable sports life for the last 20 years. It's just nice to finally be back in the conversation a little bit. So I'm a realist. I mean, I get hyped up every year and believe in the team that we've got a chance. This year, I actually do think the Dolphins are going to be pretty darn good. Made some changes on defense. You guys got a nice young quarterback over there who looks like he's got some promise. It's tough to name any team other than the Chiefs or Bills or Bengals at this point, but there's a lot of contenders in the mix, and there's just so much variance in football. It could be any of those teams, but yeah, I mean, I'll say the Dolphins just as the backup fan, but we'll see. The Super Bowl is in Vegas this year, so that would be a dream scenario if my squad can pull this off somehow and make a run. That'd be once in a lifetime, and you can bet on me being there.
Yeah, I'm
even
sure.
if I have to sell the car for the ticket. So yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to the season getting back underway. When even when the pandemic was going on, the lockdowns were happening, there was just something very like comfortingly normal about Sunday afternoons, being able to put the game on and watch, in my case, the black and gold. But yeah, I totally get that. I'm looking forward to that as well too. Joe, was there anything else that you wanted to throw in before we release Garry into the wilds of Nevada and roll on out of here?
I just want to comment that he didn't seem to be all that fearful of the Rogers reinforced jets.
A good buddy of mine, Rich Ryan, is a diehard Jets fan, and we talk shit to each other all the time. I mean, look, Rodgers is great, one of the GOATs for sure. Consecutive MVPs not that long ago, but there's this cliff that players eventually fall off, and it happens around age 39, 40. Not everybody can be Tom Brady putting up elite numbers. So I don't know. The Jets are scary. They have a very, very talented roster. So we'll see. It's going to be a bloodbath in the AFC East, no doubt.
I think what it'll come down to is I don't think Rodgers prepared at all last year to play, and that hurt him. And he's preparing more with the Jets, but the level of his preparation will go a long way in determining if he can put that team on top. So that's my humble estimation. But
you're probably right. And there's something about just a new environment that motivates you a bit to want to perform and make the people that believed in you to sign you at this new team proud. So who knows? I mean, they could be in the mix. I think we can all agree it's nice that the Patriots are now at the bottom of the barrel. Unquestionably, the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets are better teams across the board. So this will be a nice decade to come. We don't have to worry about Belichick and Brady just ravaging us anymore.
Well said, sir. Yeah, here is right. All right, well, Joe, thanks for your time in the interview today. Garry, this was so much fun. I'm glad we got a chance to get you on here. I'd love to have you back maybe sometime after the series, or maybe gearing up for next year or something like that. I think we've got a lot more fun stories we could tease out of you. So thanks for being here and for being that genuine, excellent guy that the poker world knows you to be. I really appreciate your time and your words today.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for having me. I enjoy speaking with you both. Joe, it's great to meet you for the first time. And Jim, I look forward to seeing you in person in a couple of days. Have a safe trip.
All right. Thanks. We'll get back to the regular podcast here, and we'll talk again soon. And we're back, folks. Another great interview. I always enjoy talking to Garry. We joke a lot after these remote interviews, like, oh, well, that was a fantastic interview, maybe our best yet. I have spoken to Garry several times. He is a really fun and interesting guy, and I'm sure we're going to tease some cool stuff out of there. I do know they've got some pretty exciting plans over at poker.org that we can get involved with as RecPoker members. I think that'll be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to hearing the interview that you all heard just now. Hopefully we'll have some exciting stuff coming out of that. Joe, you unmuted. What's on your mind these days?
I was just impressed with the alliteration that he did throughout. the interviews. So
It's amazing. I mean, it would be hard for anyone to start that many words in a row with the letter G, but Garry Gates, he's used to it. He's used to stringing them along.
I was really impressed that all your questions were in verse, Jim.
I worked on that. And iambic pentameter as well. There was a real rigor involved.
Yeah. I can't wait to revisit those.
What did you think of the interpretive dance number? Because I thought that was pretty highbrow, really. I thought it was good. Yeah, good. I'm glad. Because there was some concerns in rehearsal about whether that would come across, in the way that it was intended. But I knew it was a sophisticated bunch here. I wasn't surprised.
Your head bobbing was reductive and bright, so I just don't think it was worth it.
Well, what do you say, folks? Why don't we talk about some recent home game winners, and then we'll get into some other exciting things that are coming up down the pike. We'll do our food bank drive. So I see we've got a lot of folks getting active in the YouTube chat, which is what we love to see here. You can start typing the words food bank in right now, and we will make sure to roll the magic die that Chris has, the magic nerdy die, and we'll see who the winner is going to be. So I'll start going through some home game results, because John Somsky, he is all things, but he is not omnipresent and couldn't make it to the show tonight. So I'm going to do my part and see if we can wade through here without getting interrupted more than 3 or 6 times. On June 7th, this is the No Limit Hold'em Championship Series. This is the first Wednesday of every month. The winner was Bagman723, so congratulations. That gives you some serious points on our own annual Player of the Year leaderboard, Player of the Year race, points race rather. So congratulations on the win. Our mixed game champion is our mixed game is this week. So if you're listening live on a Wednesday night, you can still get into our monthly series mixed game. Which one is that? I believe that's Limit 08 this month. But you can check all that information out at rec.poker/home games. In the nightly events, on June 5th, Frogman Rick, who's private, whose name is private, he's actually not that private. And I'll go out on a limb and say that his name is Rick, and you probably know him if you're a regular listener to the podcast. So congratulations, Rick. Way to go. On June 6th, K-Poker Wannabe, who has been on a roll lately. That's Ron Payton. He's won a few times in the last couple of weeks, and he also won the May 100K Studios leaderboard. So congratulations to Ron. Keep it up, man. On June 8th, Sooner Girl 45, who's private, but congratulations on your win. On June 9th, Ship and Flip Wreck, that's Luke O'Driscoll. And Luke is making waves, man. I think this is his 7th win this year and 9th all time, if I'm reading this correctly. And Luke is also the proud recipient of a few Rec Poker pins that I am mailing all the way to Australia. I think this is the furthest we've ever posted a pin. So Luke, congratulations on that dubious honor, and congratulations on continuing to kick butt here in the Rec Poker home games. On June 10th, Carl0621 private came through. Congratulations. On June 10th, Ship and Flip Wreck again. Luke O'Driscoll winning the mixed event on Saturday. So huge run by Luke. I'm starting to think this Luke O'Driscoll character might be pretty good at poker, folks. On the international series, we've got Larson's Opening, George Borden, who I think that's 2 weeks in a row he's come through with a win there. So congratulations to George. On June 10th, the afternoon international event was winner was Aces 54320, and everyone who listens regularly knows that's Kathy Chang. Kathy, if you're listening, congratulations. I hope we get a chance to connect while I'm in Vegas for the last half of June here. And the LPP Sunday event winner, BD Under. I'm not going to dox them this time, but congratulations, BD Under. You know how it goes. Send an email, please, to info@rec.poker, because just like every Sunday night winner, you have won a free month at Learn Pro Poker, and you are going to love it. So check that out. Send that email, info@rec.poker, and we'll hook you up with your free prize of a month at Learn Pro Poker. It's going to be fantastic. The Heads Up event, like I mentioned at the top of the show, is on June 17th. That's this Saturday. That's going to be at 2:00 Eastern, 1:00 Central, or as John Somsky likes to say, 1:00 Central, the only time zone that matters. So there you go, John, just in case you're listening. I did not forget that Central is the only time zone that matters. And so I just want to remind folks, so this is a heads up bracket. It's a ladder tournament. There's no late registration, so you have to be registered before the tournament starts. It's going to set up with a series of heads up brackets, and it's winner take all single elimination. So you'll work your way through the cream of RecPoker's heads up stable, and the winner of these quarterly events, there's one in June, September, and December, will win their way into Marek Madness, which will be here every year in Marek, or March, as some people like to refer to it. So those are the home game results. Congratulations to all our amazing winners. Why don't we see who's won our prize today, and then we can talk about a couple more events that are coming up and wrap this baby out of here. So Chris, I see some more. I should never look away from the YouTube chat, because I look back and I've missed all this fun stuff going on right under my nose. You got some fun comments in here from Joe and Ben and DJ and even Phil. Even Phil cracks a joke every once in a while. It's amazing. It's amazing. Even what's the expression, Chris? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. That's why are we so hard on Phil? He is generally a nice guy. I guess he just invites it with this.
I mean, he is. Yeah, he's kind of mean to us.
That's probably why. That's probably why. All right. So I see in the food bank order, Hawk Plays, Phil, Luke, Gibber, and Joe. Are those the ones that you see as well?
That is what I see as well.
5, so you know what that means. You got to roll
in the boxcar, and it means I re-roll with a 6 and re-roll with a 2, right?
Yeah, that seems fair. I think that's the right way to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We got to get those tears. We got to get those tears out of Phil somehow. Let's see how it looks.
Phil's right. He's not mean to me. I just say I'm protective. It's a 6, so I'm re-rolling.
Re-roll.
It's another 6. Wow.
Uh-oh, not a third 6, Chris. You know what that means.
That is a third 6.
Oh, okay. So that's funny. That's the same as my flight number.
Well, it goes 6, 6, 6, and then a 2. So
wow. All right. Well, I mean, I guess that clock, it's striking midnight.
Yep.
You know,
here we go, Phil. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Phil.
Not bamboozled. Not bamboozled.
Yeah, there was no bamboozling. There was no bamboozling at all. Oh, Martha. Oh my God, we got a comment here in the YouTube chat. This is from Martha. She says, I like Phil. He's funny. Oh man. Phil is never gonna let me ride that one down now. That's my mom there in the YouTube chat officially saying that Phil is funny. So
Phil endorsed.
Man. Phil endorsed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Martha Reid, Phil endorsement. That is, boy, she doesn't know. She doesn't know just how deep that knife goes. She has also said in the past that Kim is her favorite panelist, just for the record.
Yeah, I mean,
like I'm right here. I'm right here, Mom. I mean, come on. I mean, she does get pretty sick of me after a while, I think. But how cool is that, Martha Reid? Thanks for joining the show every week, Mom. So sweet. All right. Joe Coolis, you've got a session coming up, don't you? I think every month on the third Thursday of the month, you get to take people behind the curtain into the poker psyops group. What do you have lined up, and what are you excited about?
I don't know yet, actually.
That is your privilege.
Since this comes out after it occurs, it doesn't really matter because nobody will hear it.
That's true. If you're listening live, you've got a chance to join Joe on Thursday. But if you're listening to this when it comes out on Friday the 16th, you've got 30 days to that next one in July. Good point.
I do think that what I'd like to do this coming session is, I'm not that far from being pretty new at poker, or at least seriously taking poker. And I think there are lots of truisms that particularly in terms of thinking about poker, that players who haven't been there for a while forget about. And when you're coming in, it's like, well, I have all these thoughts about things, and everybody else is leaning back saying, that's what I remember from 5 years ago when I was like you, ha ha ha. And you're kind of like, I still have to go through that, And so I might just talk a little bit about just a few basics. And again, I've always wanted this to be a little more interactive. So if there are new players out there, come on in, join the group for a while and sit in and talk about some of these really early experiences, because I think that there are different ways that people react to them, that if you understand it better, it'll help smooth out some of the bumps along the way until you become the great Chris Jones and never have a bad thought about their poker game and is just a bot, answering all the time. So
that's basically what happens. Yep. That's the evolution. That's the evolution of a poker player.
I don't think you want me to be the highest form of evolution in the poker curve.
That's going to be great, man. I've really enjoyed it so far. It's a really interesting element to be bringing to our RecPoker members. So thanks for putting those together. I'm looking forward to the next one. Rob, we're working through the first couple chapters of GTO Poker Simplified by Darrow Carney and Barry Carter in the book club, or in the book study. How's that going so far?
Well, we had a real good session last Wednesday, the first Wednesday of June. We talked about what is GTO, and then we talked about how do we get exploited. So it was kind of interesting. There was a lot of interesting stuff there. And now, coming up on the third Wednesday of June, we're going to be talking about it was interesting statement about we make money with our value bets. Okay, value bets are the only way we make money. And everything else we do is in pursuit of winning money with our value bets. So all of the, people talk about bluffing all the time. Bluffing is exciting. Bluffing is, that's where everybody gets really into it. So look at that bluff, look at that bluff. But those bluffs are just there so that you actually do get paid when you make a value bet. So we're going to talk about all the different reasons why we bet and all the reasons why we are worried about frequencies. Everything in GTO is about frequencies. And so we have to know that everything we do is in concert with making money with our value bets. And that's what the next chapter is going to be all about. So it's going to be pretty interesting, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always think we kind of get, as you say, we kind of get obsessed about bluffs and finding balance and that kind of thing. But in most spots, you don't actually need that many combos of bluffs in order to balance out a healthy value range. So I think I think that line, I really like that line you said, like the value hands should drive your profits in poker. That does make a lot of sense. Don't worry so much about weakening your strong ranges. Worry more. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops. That does sound good. Chris, you're the man behind our deep dives every month. We've been building a theme of the month as we go through the year. We're looking at some new themes coming up. What's the theme of the month in June, and what have you been working on in the lab?
Yeah, so I always get lost about which month I'm in because there's the month I've did and the month I'm working on and the month I'm in. But we're working on player reads and exploits and thinking about how we might make some adjustments. And we're getting ready for to look at things like leak tracking and how do we kind of like figure out when we're making mistakes that we might, how do we even know that without having to like work with an expensive coach or have somebody figure it out for us? How do we do some of that ourselves? And we'll be taking a look at that a little bit as well coming up in the months ahead. And then We're going to start probably a journey through some tournament stages, looking at how we kind of progress through a tournament. We looked at it like how we progress through a hand. Now we're going to look through how we progress through a tournament in a subsequent monthly series.
I love it. Chris does such a good job putting these themes of the month together, building on each other, so that as you get more steeped in the trading material here at Rec Poker, you get a chance to kind of evolve the way that you think, not only from early stages right through the end stages of a tournament, but early stages of a hand right through the end. It's a great way to learn what to be focusing on at any given time. And I just love the way Chris does these play along sessions. So on the fourth Monday of every month, our Rec Poker Premium members get together and they play a simulated poker tournament spot for about an hour, 90 minutes. This is something that Chris is able to capture everyone's whole cards with cards up for a later review. And then Chris and Darrow Carney get together and they talk about some of the spots that came up. And our premium members get a chance to get some feedback from Darrow Carney and Chris Jones, specifically on how they can handle these particular spots. And Chris also puts a fantastic like seminar video together each month, kind of focusing on the key elements of the theme that month. I think it's one of the best things we do here. It's the deep dive. If you're considering giving Rec Poker Premium a try, just give us a go. It only costs $5 for your first month of premium membership here at Rec Poker. Use the code RecPoker at checkout. And then it is an arm and a leg, folks. It's $15 whole every month after that. That's 15. I know it's not small potatoes, but we think you're going to get a lot of value for that $15 a month. And you might have a good time with some of us if you give us a try in some of our premium stuff. I see we got some cool, we got a new friend from Niagara. Folks might know I had a great time in Niagara the other couple weeks ago playing some cash games down there and bumped into a few fantastic people and padded the Vegas bankroll a little bit. So that's always good with WSOP right around the corner. So hello and thanks to our new Niagara friends. And I think, oh my God, did I mention that our podcast is sponsored by the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack and Casino? I might have skipped that at the top. So I should mention again, we should give them two at the end, that it is the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack and Casino that we're so grateful for all their support and encouragement over the years. And I'm hoping we're going to get a chance to, yeah, there you go, Rob. Rob's repping the gear. Exactly. I'm hoping we're going to get a chance to head out there one day soon for another Rec Poker weekend. I don't want to say, I can't say anything officially, but there are some irons in the fire.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. I miss it. I had to fly through there so briefly last time. It was like 48 hours on my way down to WSOP last year. So I'm hoping we can take a little more time and really relax and spend some time and get to know some people.
But stay tuned, right? Because there might be news soon about this.
I think there's going to be news very soon. Yeah.
Sure.
So check out the events page at Rec Poker. Hopefully, if you're listening to the podcast, by next week we should have something fun to announce that might involve a trip to the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack and Casino. You never know. I'm hinting pretty well, but yeah, if you can read between the lines, you'll see that there might be something fun coming up down there a little bit once it's all confirmed. Yeah, thanks, Joe. All right, well, let me see. So Phil the Stinker won the prize this week. So Phil, send that email, please, info@rec.poker. You've won an amazing prize. And thank you to our Stealth Niagara member who just signed up to be a YouTube subscriber. And I'd encourage folks, if you're listening to this at home, please do subscribe to the podcast on your provider. That helps us out a lot. I would love if you could leave a review or rate the podcast as well. It doesn't sound like it makes a big difference, but it makes a huge difference to us for people to be rating and reviewing it. Or like my new friend Stealth here, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's another great way to help us out without spending a dime. And of course, I say, come get a free account over at Rec Poker. All it takes is an email address and a smile. We hope you come and join us and get more involved and see what all the fun is about. So I think without any further ado, I want to say a big thank you to Garry Gates and all the other cool, fun folks over there at poker.org. Joseph Koulis, Chris Jones, Rob Washington, thanks for joining me in the booth here. Again, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. The YouTube chatters, my mom, Martha Reed, and you, the listeners. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody.